Hi, everybody. My name is Lindsay, and I'm a Bravoholic.
You're preaching to the choir. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Honey, you have to stop saying that.
Welcome to Bravoholics Anonymous. The first thing I want to kick off with is I just finished rewatching Summer House, and I really gained some new perspectives on the Lindsay and Carl thing. Let me go through each of the characters as we see them and what my takes on them are. Watching from season 1 all the way through to Carl Radke breaking up with Lindsay on camera, I feel like I know so much more about them just catching the first 3 seasons. I jumped in maybe season 4, and I didn't go back and rewatch because at first I wasn't sure if I was really into the show. It did take me a while to get into Summer House. And of course we know making these shows, they're editing for storyline. They're looking for something, that will gain an opinion and get people talking. So they're going to highlight the best and worst of people. And something I really want to credit Summer House for is that they really do a good job of making everyone look bad at some point. Nobody is safe. Everyone on this show is a little bit messy, and if they aren't or if they're boring, we will not see them the next summer. And I know there's definitely people that have come through and that we aren't seeing anymore. So we'll start with Kyle Cook, one of the main alpha dogs of the house. I see him as the president of the fraternity. This guy probably wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't the president of his fraternity. And we really see that come through when they start introducing the themed party weekends, which after COVID almost becomes a regular thing where people are appointed party themes and get all this decor, boxes and boxes of Amazon deliveries coming every weekend just to get the place ready for whoever these people are that show up for the parties. Kyle Cook is the glue. He is the drama bringer. He's been doing this since the beginning. They probably leased the house in his name, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had some kind of producing credit. Honestly, he should, because I feel like he really is bringing most of these people together, at least in the early seasons. Season 1, just starting to hook up and hang out with Amanda, and then throughout all the seasons, we see their relationship unfurrow to, are they going to get married? Are they not going to get married? Is Amanda happy? Is Kyle happy? And we definitely see that, at least in the earlier seasons, Kyle definitely depends on drinking to get his feelings out of his system. And it's not the healthiest ways of doing that. I know later seasons we start hearing them talk about therapy and what they're doing together and how they're working on things. But he's definitely the epitome of the New York guy that's like work hard, play hard. And when I lived in New York City, I feel like every bro in Manhattan, not just the finance guys, but they all kind of live by this. And the culture, if you haven't lived in New York City or haven't spent a lot of time in New York City, the social culture there is very much happy hour. So if you want to see your friends, it's after work at the bar. And if you're not a drinker, you're probably going to become a drinker, or you have to find some vice because everyone's going to a bar every day after work to hang out. I tried to throw numerous get-togethers at my place because coming from Canada and that's just kind of like my friendship culture. I like a chill hang, and that's probably why living in LA now, it suits me better. But these people are partying through the week. Even if they're working all week, they're probably going to bars after. And then your summer isn't successful living in New York if you don't get the hell out of town. And that's why the Hamptons is what it is, or Montauk is what it is. And people flock to these places because the city in the summer sucks. It smells like garbage. It's so damn hot. It's dirty. It's filthy. The park is beautiful, but it's just so hot. Anyway, so we meet Kyle. My take on Kyle, frat boy president. I admittedly like him. I know he's toxic as hell. He cheats on Amanda in a later season. It's horrible. There's something about this guy, though, that's forgiving. And I just I don't know. I'm rooting for him. Then we meet Lindsay Hubbard, my namesake, and I really hate that she has my name. So seeing Lindsay's relationship in the early seasons with Everett and Steven in the pandemic, and then when she gets with Carl, I can see the through line here. Lindsay's at a point at an age where she is feeling so pressured to check the boxes of life that she wants to check before her biological clock is up. She has milestones that she wants to meet. And I think we all have that girlfriend, or we have experienced these pressures in life where I feel like maybe if you go through a breakup in your early 30s, like I know I did, there's a lot that you have to process in regards to that timeline and how you feel that pressure. So going into like season 1 when she's with Everett and she's talking about this timeline that she has built out, I swear she never threw that timeline out. Every guy that she went through, she just jumped back on the same train track with the timeline. And when she got with Carl, and the time she got with Carl the second time, he was already familiar with the timeline and he was feeling the same pressure. And that's why we saw things expedited the way we saw them, besides the fact that they were friends. So I think that this overarching pressure of her timeline, her intensity to accomplish things, mixed with her childhood trauma of like not really having a foundational family and like really wanting to start her own family and have that thing that's hers that she didn't have before because her parents like weren't in her life and she had other, aunts and stuff that were involved. I think that like really feeds her toxicity and like why she's accepting partners that might not be right for her and why she's not taking the time to heal her wounds before jumping into the next relationship. And she just like defines it as this thing that's like, oh, this is Lindsay. So I think this is Lindsay's way. Like she just jumps back into the pool. She makes out with Austin. She's crazy. And it just hurts everybody along the way. And then like when she gets angry and starts yelling at you, like it's no surprise everyone is afraid of Lindsay getting pissed at them because it's just so intense and so fiery. So next we go to Carl. Carl, to start, is with one of the Workus sisters or like having a thing with her and then also dating around. Carl totally comes off like a sleaze. I mean, I don't understand anyone who took his side in the whole big breakup at the end of the seasons. Like, he called the camera crew to record all of it, and I guess he maybe felt the pressure to do that because his job for a long time is just the production of this show, which we don't see them breaking the fourth wall and mentioning in the show, but it's like alluded to a lot, especially in the fights with Lindsay and Carl. It's not a surprise that he like goes to capitalize on the show and make this a moment, and I'm sure down the road like Lindsay's actually gonna like that they did this thing because she fights so hard for her storylines and like has always tried to be this main character in the show. I swear the producer that's in Lindsay's ear is telling her that she's like the main character of the show and she can't back down from this confrontation. She has to go have this discussion. Like that's gotta be how they motivate her to do stuff. Carl does like to run, and he clearly has like these big avoidant tendencies because he's afraid to talk to his partners. He's afraid to dump his partners. So he invites a new girl to over for the weekend in front of Lindsay on the first time they started dating as a way of like breaking up with her. Like the guy doesn't have a backbone to talk to anybody. And honestly, maybe the cameras at the end here of our most recent season coming to videotape him having that talk with Lindsay were almost like a security blanket for those hard conversations because he wanted backup or protection because it could get crazy. I don't know. It was wild, and I don't think he has respect for his partners, and I think he needs lots of therapy. I think he needs so much therapy. He should just be sober and like work on himself and his demons for a while, because this idea that he's running around and dating these poor women in New York that are like looking for their life partner, and they're in this like toxic cycle of not knowing if they should hook up with someone or if they should hook up with someone, if that's going to give them a better chance of seeing their date again down the road, which is like totally a real thing there and here in LA. But it was really bad for my friends in New York. Like when I was living in New York and some of my girlfriends were out dating, they would feel that pressure to hook up on the first date to like maybe secure a second or third date. I don't know. Definitely like a more modern thing. And so, yeah, that's my take on Carl. I hate his white pants. I hate his loafers. I think he thinks that's like a statement of his now, but I just like, it's always too tight. They're always too short. No socks, still not wearing socks. I don't know. I don't like any of it. His feet probably smell so bad. Let's move on to Amanda. Amanda first introduced as like Kyle's hookup buddy, wants something more, ends up securing the guy, you know, is the life of the party, this cute, fun thing. They have a great summer. And then it just becomes like, you know, the pressures of life. Now that they're together and they're monogamous, are we going to move in together? Are we going to get married? Are we going to have kids? Are we going to move to the burbs where my parents are and they can serve us lemonade? Like, this is a great lifestyle for us. I do love them as a couple, Amanda and Kyle. And like, I want to root for them as a couple. But I don't think they naturally fit. Like, I don't think Kyle ever wants to leave the city. And I think it's going to take something that really shakes up his life to like want to change course, especially now that we see him DJing all over the internet and doing events, which probably helps, you know, for his appearances, for selling Lover Boy. I want Amanda to do the bathing suit line, okay? Every girl with tits and like a large rack wants this bathing suit line that Amanda's been talking about doing. It astounds me that it hasn't been done yet. I think she should just embrace it and do it. But I mean, my sister does graphic design and Amanda does graphic design, so I love that about her. And I think she's great and she's so beautiful and she's so chill. And you know who isn't is Danielle. So let's get into Danielle. Danielle is so cringy crazy. She is a great and loyal friend, and I think she just picks the worst people to be loyal to, and like Lindsay's that person, and unless Lindsay's in a relationship where she can get that aggression out on her partner, then she needs her security blanket of Danielle. And it's just sad to see that Danielle takes that bait every time. A lot of anxious attachment stuff going on, so she is accepting things that maybe she shouldn't. And then, you know, if we watch Winter House, we see that horrible season where she's basically like pressuring that guy to hook up with her. And that was really icky. And then she came back the next summer and was kind of tame. And like, I'm rooting for Danielle, but I'm worried about Danielle's demons. And I honestly think they might be harder to overcome than Lindsay and Carl's demons, because she keeps getting so hurt and she doesn't take the right information away. And when we have that big fight, when Carl and Lindsay get engaged and Danielle feels just like so left out of the picture because they were the three amigos and they were together all the time. And then they basically don't even tip her off that it's happening. And she's a little bit more traditional and probably imagined like she would help Carl decorate or like arrange the family to come into town or whatever. And Carl doesn't include her in any of that because she screams into a pillow when he like tells her he's looking at rings. I mean, rightfully so. She doesn't give off the right impression and she knows the timeline's wrong, but Carl and Lindsay are going down this path that we know doesn't end well. And Danielle knows it's not going to end well. So it's just a recipe for madness. Brilliant for the show. I enjoyed watching it so much. But it shocked me when I watched the early seasons that Danielle and Carl were a couple. And I know we hear about it. I know she mentions it a million times that she was with Carl first, but I never saw it. So going back and watching like the older shows and seeing them that way really, really gagged me. It was weird. It was a trip to watch and just added so much more perspective to it. So then we have the Workus sisters. One of them's moving away. One of them's staying and ultra messy because she's losing her twin. And I love the twins. I think we need twins to come back. We need more twins because twins have these really cool relationships and they have this, and there's always some level of toxicity too. They're too close or they fight with each other over the same guy or whatever. So I think Summer House needs twins next season. Let's bring some more twins in. Maybe dude twins. That'd be kind of cool. We have Steven. I really liked Steven, and I'm kind of bummed Steven didn't come back. Maybe he didn't come back because the Workus girls didn't come back. Maybe he didn't come back because, you know, he got a hot dude in another country or he moved, or I don't know why he didn't come back. I don't know if the T is on that. Probably worth Googling. Everett seemed so sweet though. Like when let's go through Lindsay's boyfriends. Everett and Steven from the pandemic season both seemed really supportive and like they wanted to give Lindsay what she wanted, but they didn't do it exactly how she wanted. So I felt bad for them. You know, I do think that Steven was afraid to talk to her about stuff and make things work, and I hated his dinner. Lindsay was right. The dinner he did in the backyard was ugly, and his like lit up thing on the lawn. I know the gesture he was trying to make, but I didn't like it either, okay? And that's okay. Lindsay can say things aren't tasteful. I agree. But I do think that Everett had like the right energy and he was serious about her and this timeline. And I think if she could have just sat back a little bit and enjoyed it instead of like getting drunk and fighting with him about things, like the alcohol is really a problem for her. And I think that's why when she was like sober for a little bit with Carl, that it like was going so well, especially like in New York and in that lifestyle for them, it was going well because when she gets drunk, that's when it all goes down. That's when all the fighting starts. So that was a really big problem for her with Everett and Steven, and just her way of interpreting what they're saying to her and how, and like their car rides or whatever. She would misinterpret things or take their tone wrong and that would start a fight. She did it with Carl too. Alcohol's a big, big problem. Okay. So Paige and Sierra, I'm obsessed. I listen to Giggly Squad. I'm a big Paige DeSorbo fan. I love when she fights back with Kyle, those few moments where she like digs at Kyle. It's great. I couldn't believe Paige and Carl hooking up in the closet. I was like, what am I watching? Like, I couldn't believe I hadn't seen these seasons, you guys, because I was shocked. So when they were hooking up in the closet and like Paige clearly wanted something from Carl and Carl like was being all weird about it. And then she told him straight up, like, this is how I like to be dated. You have to check in with me. You should be taking me out during the week. Like, treat me like you're actually pursuing me. And Carl, he's like, what, 6'4" or some shit in New York City? Homeboy doesn't do anything to get women. He just walks in the room and some like height chaser, tree chaser, like runs up and throws herself at him. And like, that's how it is in LA too. If you're tall, you don't have to have any personality. And now Carl's got these big veneers and like his white pants and whatever. And like he gives them a little smile and they win. And I mean, we'll probably see it down the road with our new Jewish friend that sings. Anyway, so Paige fell for that at first, but then she quickly like told him what she wanted. He wouldn't give it to her. So she moved on. And like, great, because I love Paige and Andrea, and of course Paige and Craig. But I knew at least that Paige and Craig weren't going to end up. She was never going to go to Charleston. Like, I thought Madison of Southern Charm might have been her bridge to getting to Charleston and finding her community. But like, Madison's rare, and she has a kid and she has a husband too. And she's not going to be able to kiki through the week with Paige like Paige wants to do in her New York lifestyle. So I was like, okay, Craig is going to have to move to New York if this is going to all work out. And you know what? New Yorkers don't want to buy Craig's pillows. I've been to his pillow shop, and you know what? They're cute. They're cute if you have a boat or if you have like a nautical themed backyard or something, but they are like a certain woman's style of decor, and it's not mine. And I don't think it's a city woman style decor. So unless he came out with a line that was more modern or had more trendy colors to it that weren't like a graphic image of a lobster or a zebra or a pineapple, maybe the New Yorkers would embrace it. But I also just don't think like New Yorkers are going to be into Craig's pillows. Maybe a Midwestern housewife is. Maybe someone that's living in a coastal city that has a boat or like a nautical themed beach house or something like that would be into it. A cottage. They'd look great in a cottage, not in New York City. So I can understand that like he's not opening a pillow shop in New York City. And that's probably ultimately why it doesn't work. Also, these Bravo celebrities, their club appearances and their event appearances and their podcasts and their merch is how they make their money. So like Craig and Austin and Jax Taylor and Tom Schwartz, these people are traveling around and they're making money meeting fans. I do think like for the most part, she's business focused, but it's metropolitan based. She's not going to Kansas, you know? Maybe she is for Giggly Squad now because they are doing some stuff, but whatever. Anyway, great. That's Paige. We love Paige. We love Sierra. Sierra is on Traitors right now, and we will talk about Traitors for sure. But I love Sierra. She comes in a little timid. She comes in as a guest of Luke, who we have to get to. I forgot about Luke, honestly. Sierra comes in as a guest of Luke to make Hannah Berner jealous. Luke, Mr. Minnesota, we quickly learn a trend here when Sierra enters the house, that he invites almost everybody to his place in Minnesota, namely women. But then we find out, yeah, he's invited producers too. He's invited blah, blah, blah. And I don't like guys like Luke because he comes off so wholesome, and he's absolutely not wholesome. He's on his phone talking to Sierra, FaceTiming Sierra in his room at night, and he's still flirting with Hannah, playing tennis with Hannah, like leading Hannah on. And I think that Hannah's hyperfixation and like what she's like led to do in 2020, which is not pretty. That's a horrible season. I don't know. I had to take a break from Giggly Squad after because I just couldn't unsee Hannah, and I needed to like separate Hannah the comic and the Giggly Squad host from her rough season. Luke was telling her, his sister like even talked to Luke on the phone and was like, you're telling Hannah I love you. And he's having these in-depth emotional conversations with her, talking to her on the phone almost every day. Of course she thinks that like something could blossom on the show, especially because they are making a show and they are looking for like maybe thinking about the storyline they want to have or where the summer's going to go for them and like what they want to show people on camera. That's natural. But they're not going to talk about that because they haven't broken the fourth wall on a show like this yet. They do it later in the more recent seasons, which I think is like groundbreaking for Bravo TV and reality TV as a whole. Hannah has a really rough season with Luke. Sierra comes in and he literally takes a super hot model, Sierra, and his plan is essentially to like play them off each other. And I don't know what he thought was going to happen. But it's so messy and so disrespectful. And I want to give Sierra her flowers because she sees that red flag and she listens to it. And she doesn't play with fire. And she's immediately turned off by someone like Luke. And that is a grown woman. And I just thought, damn, she's even hotter now because she can handle herself in a way where she sees like a toxic guy and she's like, no, I'm not interested in that. If he's doing this to this other girl, I'm not necessarily, she doesn't need to go run and be Hannah's best friend. She can hold her own and be comfortable and like still get to know the girls, but she's also not going to tolerate Luke's behavior. And I love that she doesn't leave the house. I feel like a lot of women would have seen that scenario and probably not come back. And Sierra's like, nah, I'm here to stay. And she develops this great relationship with Paige and with Amanda. And I ultimately think like she's truest to Paige. And I still think it'd be genius if they did a summer where they brought back, and Hannah will never come back, I'm sure. But if they brought back Hannah and they had Amanda and they had Danielle, they had all these girls in there like almost vying for Paige to be their bestie, I would love to see a girls' summer like that. And I know they've already recorded last summer's stuff, and I really tried to avoid the rumors of everything that was swirling around about these shows because I feel like after the Vanderpump, Ariana, Tom Sandoval thing, there was just so much being leaked on podcasts and on TikTok and everything. It was ruining the season for me, and I was tired of the storyline before the season came out for the newest like Vanderpump. So I tried to avoid a lot for the newest season of Summer House when they filmed it, and I just can't wait for it to come out. Who else do we have to jump on? Andrea Denver, my favorite Summer House cast member. He is so damn hot and so damn sweet. And he's got this Italian charm. I swear that man could talk himself out of anything. And he still doesn't present himself as this like toxic masculine guy like a Carl Radke does. I'm so impressed by Andrea. And I still want Paige and Andrea to get together. Like I still ship that. God, he's perfect. Like I don't even know what to say. And that when he's crying over the Italian dinner about this girl that he was also talking to, that he feels he really had a connection with, do I really believe that it was that intense of a connection? Not really. I mean, he was hooking up with Paige and like still kind of like playing things out with Paige at the same time. But do I think that he turned his like taxi light on, you know, as we say, and then he really thought that this girl was the girl? Yeah. And I think she's like so down to earth, and of course she's gorgeous and she's a model, but She's totally approachable looking, which gives us all hope, okay? Gives us all hope that maybe we could have a shot with Andrea one day if it doesn't work out. And I'm sure it hasn't worked out. Let's see. Is he still with her? Where Lexi? Is he still with Lexi? Let's see. Oh my God. They got married. Damn. Look at People Magazine's got it right here. And he grew his hair out. Oh my God, he looks so Italian. They got married in Italy, June 13th, 2024. That's 2 days after my birthday. I love that for them. It's stunning. Everyone's there. Danielle's there. Kyle's there. Carl's there. They're all there. This Italian wedding fireworks. Wow. Oh my, I'm so happy for them. I guess she was the one. He knew it. Damn, I guess maybe we don't have a shot with Andrea. Doesn't give us any hope. That's okay. Okay, so Maya comes into the house. Andrea calls her another name, I think Sierra's name. And then we have this really awesome conversation about what it's like to be a person of color, you know, in an area like the Hamptons or Montauk. Maya, you know, it's an emotional conversation, but like it really helped me see Maya's world, a world we hadn't been introduced yet to. And it was, you know, during the Black Lives Matters movement. So it was very timely and appropriate. It didn't feel, even though the timing was perfect, it didn't feel produced. And Maya came off so authentic. It made me really like her. And then she develops a bit of a relationship with Carl. They're both, you know, lower vibration, lower energy people, especially now that Carl's sober. And so I think they have some real talks. And then when Lindsay and Carl get back together again, drunk Lindsay in a car in LA freaks out on Maya and accuses her of coming on to her boyfriend. So typical drunk Lindsay. It's unfortunate because I really think Lindsay got in the way of Maya and Carl having like a good friendship in the house. And I'm sure it'll come back around and they're going to be good or whatever, but there's always going to be a distance because of the Lindsay thing. And let's hope for future seasons, like maybe that comes back around. I don't want Maya to be with Carl. Don't get me wrong. There's no way I want Maya to be with Carl. But I do think it's really sweet that they had this like bond and they could talk about stuff and maybe smoke some pot together because we love that. Let's go to West, one of our newest boys in the house. He comes in and he charms the pants off all of us. I immediately was like, oh yeah, this West guy's cool. And now I have the biggest damn ick because of the whole Sierra thing. I thought he was showing up like he was playing with intention, and he was just a dog trying to chase a bone and had some stamina. He was not afraid to like go the distance and to try to sleep with her. But Sierra was right, and she needs to trust her gut and her intuition because a woman's gut and intuition is part of our superpower. We are such magical creatures. And Sierra's gut and intuition was damn well right about West. He just wanted to get a piece and then he wanted to move on. And the second he got into the limelight of Summer House and he went back to New York City and all these women were finding him at the bar after work, if he's going to work still, I'm sure he's probably still working for Barstool or something. It's a great place for him. He was going to the bar and they were like, oh my God, is that West from Summer House? I watched you on the show. And he got with like the hottest girl, Sierra. Now every woman wants to get with West. And he is ultimately this douchey frat boy who's, you know, probably wearing bandanas under his hat and like rocking like urban streetwear ick and just being this like party boy guy and trying to play it cool. You know, I've got the biggest ick for West, and I'm going to probably loathe him the entire next season. And I just hope Sierra takes her rage out on him, you know? I definitely see her carrying a little bit of a chip on her shoulder in Traitors, like just an emotional something that she's working through. And I think it's still because of West, because she went right from that season into shooting Traitors. But God, I'm just ready for us all to collectively hate West for a summer. And then I'm sure he'll win us back over again because that's the kind of like toxic man he is. He'll find some way to charm us. I hate that. Okay, Jesse Solomon. I think it's so funny when they bring these guys in and they're like template images, like younger images of each other. They did the same thing on Southern Charm when they brought Austin in. Shep hated it because Shep is like, this is the new me? Is this the younger model, the newer model of me? And Shep gave Austin a hell of a hard time. So Jesse Solomon comes in. He's basically the new Carl. I don't think he had any ability to give that any attention or feel insecure about it because he was so busy like trying to diffuse his fights with Lindsay. But Jesse comes in and he shares his story of cancer scares and singing jazz music, and he's nice, okay? But I still don't think I'd be that into it. I mean, I don't like men that sing or serenade you. Maybe that's a me problem. It makes me uncomfortable. So when Jesse's like standing up and singing a song in the restaurant, it's not for me. But that's fine. It could be for somebody else. You guys can have him. He wears white pants too and loafers too. I'm not into it at all. And he's another tall New York City fuckboy who just walks into a bar and women throw themselves at him because he's got white teeth and he's over 6'2". I don't know. I never understand the women that chase men based on a height, but I'm more of an intellectual girl anyway. Okay, so let's go into Danielle's boyfriend. We're introduced to Robert. He's a chef. And that doesn't last long. I mean, chefs work every night. They're always in the kitchen. I work in restaurants too. And like, these guys are all divorced and separated. You know, they never see their families. There's no way they can maintain a relationship working in a kitchen 5 or more days a week, especially most people work 9 to 5. So it's not a surprise that their relationship doesn't work out and Danielle can't deal with it. I was kind of surprised because I thought in the beginning that Robert was like on a course to be like a personal chef, and like, especially with the exposure he had doing the food for some of these parties that they were having, it looked great. I was kind of surprised he didn't go for his own independent private chef business where he could probably like make his own hours or work just during the day. Whatever, he made his choices and he took his opportunities and blah. We've got Chris. He's the ex-Marine, one of the guys that came in for, 1 or 2 seasons. I can't even remember. He's so weird and awkward. It's just another one of these guys that's just like they're all kind of icky and weird. Wasn't big on him. Jules. Oh my God. This season with Jules and Jordan. Okay. I liked Jules. She was so sweet and so cute, and she loved Paige, and like Paige was an icon to her. And sure, she fangirled out a little bit, but like we all have had a relationship with a friend where either we're the fangirl and have like the girl crush or they do. And it's cute and it's totally a girl thing. And I think that like some of the other girls were a little like jealous of it, and because Paige responded pretty positively to it. And I think Paige likes that attention because Paige puts effort into her looks, and like someone like Jules really appreciated it. And it kind of bummed me out that Carl was such a dick about the whole Jules and Jordan thing, especially because we all know Jordan was the weirdo, okay? I looked up his Instagram the other day, and he has like a ski account, and he's like his Instagram's all him skiing. And I was like, honestly, stay on the mountain, Jordan, because he's toxic and weird. So then we have the Workus sisters. One of them's moving away. One of them's staying and ultra messy because she's losing her twin. And I love the twins. I think we need twins to come back. We need more twins because twins have these really cool relationships, and they have this, and there's always some level of toxicity too. They're too close, or they fight with each other over the same guy or whatever. So I think Summer House needs twins next season. Let's bring some more twins in. Maybe dude twins. That'd be kind of cool. We have Steven. I really liked Steven, and I'm kind of bummed Steven didn't come back. Maybe he didn't come back because the Workus girls didn't come back. Maybe he didn't come back because, he got a hot dude in another country, or he moved, or I don't know why he didn't come back. I don't know if the tea is on that. Probably worth Googling. Everett seemed so sweet though. Like when let's go through Lindsay's boyfriends. Everett and Steven from the pandemic season both seemed really supportive, and like they wanted to give Lindsay what she wanted, but they didn't do it exactly how she wanted. So I felt bad for them. I do think that Steven was afraid to talk to her about stuff and make things work, and I hated his dinner. Lindsay was right. The dinner he did in the backyard was ugly, and his like lit up thing on the lawn. I know the gesture he was trying to make, but I didn't like it either. Okay? And that's okay. Lindsay can say things aren't tasteful. I I agree. But I do think that Everett had like the right energy and he was serious about her and this timeline. And I think if she could have just sat back a little bit and enjoyed it instead of like getting drunk and fighting with him about things, like the alcohol is really a problem for her. And I think that's why when she was like sober for a little bit with Carl, that it like was going so well, especially like in New York and in that lifestyle for them, it was going well because when she gets drunk, that's when it all goes down. That's when all the fighting starts. So that was a really big problem for her with Everett and Steven, and just her way of interpreting what they're saying to her and how, and like their car rides or whatever. She would misinterpret things or take their tone wrong and that would start a fight. She did it with Carl too. Alcohol's a big, big problem. Des comes in for Hannah, and Des and Hannah bang all over the house in Kyle and Amanda's bathroom and whatever. And it was a total retaliation, okay? And then they got married, like so fast whirlwind. They're still together. 2 comics, so maybe it works. I don't know. I don't really have too hot a take on Des. Oh my God, though. Something I forgot to mention. How much do I love when Stassi Schroeder makes an appearance on Summer House? I know it happens first thing in the pilot. I turned it on and I was like, Stassi's here in the pilot? What the hell? With Kyle. And Kyle, of course, is drunk and blowing it. Of course. I loved it. And then they came back later with like Katie and Tom Schwartz to make Amanda feel better about the cheating thing. That was a really interesting produced moment. But I loved seeing Katie Maloney and Tom Schwartz on that show. Summer House is great. It's brilliant. And the people they bring through, brilliant. I really am curious and I would love to get some insight on who the people are that they bring into the parties. Are these like background people and like extras that they hire? Who are these people? But I love Summer House. And so I guess I'll just leave it at that. The rewatch was great. I'm ready for the new season. And if you haven't rewatched it lately, I recommend you do. It'll take up, if you just play it nonstop for 2 weeks, like I did, cleaning the house, working, whatever, it's in the background, it's always on. It felt productive. Next, I think it's really, really important that I jump into The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and where we are at with that show. So if you aren't caught up, spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the last 2 episodes, especially the last episode, but the last 2 episodes that we just saw. So jumping into it, there's this confessional in the second last episode here that Kyle gives where I feel like I know exactly where she actually stands. And I'm going to play it for you.
I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I always saw Dorit as wearing the pants in that relationship. So it's hard for me to visualize that dynamic. Is Dorit taking advantage of this moment that she can paint a picture of who PK is and he's not here to defend himself? I'm just saying, I've never seen that.
I need to talk about it because this really bothered me. Kyle has clearly picked her side, and it is with PK. To make a statement like that in the confessionals and basically take PK's side in it, be like, I don't know where this is coming from. I've never seen it. Like, she is not Team Dorit, and she wasn't Team Dorit. When we saw that text message, it clearly is referring to their divorce. She sent it on the day of the divorce, and this is what the message said. I know you have a lot of friends, but I am also one. And here if you need me. I've never repeated anything you have shared with me and never would. In parentheses, meaning you can trust me always. End parentheses. We'll keep sending you memes and won't forget laughing emojis. And I'm not going to harbor on this, but if Dorit sent that message to Mauricio, can you imagine how Kyle would have reacted? It is absolutely alluding to talking about the divorce. She sent it on the day of the divorce, and she is trying to maintain her relationship with PK. And I think I know why. My hot take and my opinion and my guesstimation why she wants to maintain this relationship with PK is, one, she's usually been able to maintain a relationship with him amidst fights with Dorit because maybe they're doing a little of it for the show, or having differences or being at odds for the show, and they're able to separate it, especially someone like Kyle who's been on the show forever. But I think that PK is her gateway to Mauricio. And I think PK and Mauricio go out a lot together, and we hear about them coming back home together, and maybe PK's talking about Dorit to Mauricio and Kyle at the end of the night or something, and then PK would tell Dorit when he got home that they were talking about it, so she was even aware. But I think that PK might be somebody that gets back to Kyle's messages or DMs or texts on a late night if she's wondering where her ex-husband is, or in the past where her husband is, if he's out partying or socializing for his industry or whatever reason. And so I think PK's been kind of like a gateway to her staying connected with Mo when he maybe isn't staying connected with her. And so I think there's something there, and there's something to that relationship. And I hate that she talks so much about being like a sister to PK. I don't know, I don't like that. It feels, there's an icky weirdness about that. So that leads me to say that I think Bose is like the best friend. And I love Dorit. I've always liked Dorit. I don't care if she talks a lot. I love detail, and I would sit and be happy to listen to Dorit yammer on about something. So I get that Bose likes to listen to Dorit, and I'm really happy that she has her this season, because I'd be worried about where Dorit would be amidst all of this, because all these other cast members are just so damn selfish, and that's why they make great TV. All of these housewives of Beverly Hills are all so worried about themselves that your storyline has to merge with their storyline for you to have that ally. You know, that leads me to roll into Sutton calling up Garcelle and being like, why does Kyle want to go to dinner the night before we all go out to Garcelle's beach house? And it's like, she wants to rally the troops. And, you know, that's literally what she was doing. And it was so transparent. And I love that Sutton's ego gets in there. And she's like, well, I'm not kissing the ring. You know, I'm not falling into line of the queen. I'm so happy she did have that ego and take that stand. This is why it makes great TV. And then she shows up at Arden, which, by the way, as an LA, like an Angelino, let me tell you a little bit about some of these places that they choose to go to. So Arden is in West Hollywood, and it's got a little coffee shop attached to it, which is where my experience is. I don't know anyone that's eaten at Arden. And it is cute, and it's full of the fake flowers, and it's a total Instagram spot, but I don't know anyone that's eat there, and I haven't heard any reviews on it. The parking's impossible, and the latte that I got, my personal latte, was below average. So they go there, Sutton calls her out and is like, you know, why are we here? And then, you know, Kyle does not expect Sutton to come in so hot. I think she thought it would be a little bit more like Housewives 101 here, and like rally the troops and let them know that like she's going to handle it with Dorit, and like I guess apologize for storming out or whatever. And Sutton's pissed and I love that Sutton's pissed. Sutton's pissed not only because she doesn't want to kiss the ring, but also because last season Kyle gave her such a hard time about her storming out of conversations and said you have to basically stay on camera, you have to record this stuff, we keep getting together to do it, and then you keep leaving. And that's essentially what happened at Bose's little like backyard spa healing party. Same thing. You know, they're getting together to film the scene. They're getting together for the conflict and ideally the resolution, and she's storming out. So Sutton's pissed that, you know, Kyle thinks she's above it and she's special and she doesn't have to follow her own rules that she enforces. So I love that but what Sutton does is she's horrible at actually communicating how she feels and what she needs from somebody. So then she like is really passive aggressive and makes Kyle guess at what she wants her to apologize for. And Kyle's really trying, because Kyle does want them in her corner because she doesn't know what to expect going to Garcelle's beach house the next day. And so Kyle's trying to guess about what she should be apologizing for. And she's not a mind reader, and Sutton wants something very specific. So it's not going the way she wants to go. And then Kyle ends up being like, can I just apologize for everything? You know, which of course does not satiate Sutton's thirst for her apology that she wants from Kyle, and that she wants to be seen as an equal from Kyle. So let's lead this into and jump forward to all the women meeting the next day. And this is the most recent episode, where I don't think I segued that, but Dorit comes in and she tells
most recent
the group
episode,
that, like,
they all get
her
together
son,
and they're about to
Jagger,
probably drive all the way
asked
out to
if they're
Ventura
divorced.
County, where Garcelle's
And
beach
God,
house
that's got to be
is.
crushing.
And if you're
And
not
that's gotta
from
be
LA,
so hard because we've already heard that they're trying to just keep it a secret because the kids are already used to PK spending a bunch of time in London and not at home, and maybe wait till they're a little older to talk about it. I also think that Dorit thinks that this could blow over and she could get back with PK. I don't think she's as angry at PK as she's going to become. I think she's still processing it, and she still thinks that maybe like in his healing he'll come around because Dorit's a catch. Okay? PK's an old man with wrinkly hands and no money. And Dorit is a catch. And she's gorgeous. And she's got great taste. And not always. I mean, her reunion look last season, the red, like, nun outfit wasn't it. But she'll take a risk. And she's just beautiful and way better than PK and the mother of his children. And I'm sure she's hoping he'll come around. And it's hard when she has to have a discussion like that with Jagger. And then here comes Sutton. Oh my God. Interrupts with I just want to put it out there that Garcelle doesn't want us to fight. Like literally the worst timing ever. And then she's trying to rush them out the door because I'm sure they're late. I'm sure Dorit she was the last to walk in that door. I'm sure she was like an hour or 2 hours late. They should just make her call time like 2 hours early. I'm sure they do something like that. But anyway, Sutton butts in. And Erica's like, have some tact, Sutton. And Erica's right. I agree with her. What's crazy about this show with the Housewives now, Beverly Hills, is like 2 of them live in Beverly Hills. And like Garcelle lives in Northridge, which is like north of the valley. It's like in the valley, but it's like, an hour and a half from Beverly Hills. They're all over the place. Kyle and Erica live in Encino, which is like, at least an hour from Beverly Hills. I'm in the valley. And so it's maybe 20, 25 minutes from me, but it's, they're not, none of them are in Beverly Hills anymore, which is hilarious. But in Encino, you can buy a mansion and you can have a nice sized yard with it still. So I think a lot of the money's moving out in that direction. Because unless you're buying something that's pre-established in Beverly Hills, you're not going to get that big of a property. So that's what they're looking for. They move out to places like Encino. But we're all meeting up to drive all the way out to Ventura County, which is north of Malibu. And if you were following the wildfires and all that stuff, like Ventura County, north, it's like a good hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours drive to get to Ventura. And it is cute. And it is in between Santa Barbara and Malibu. And it's one of the few places on the coastline in this area where you could probably buy property with an ocean view for under $5 million. So then we go to the beach house. Garcelle's beach house is beautiful. And they have this conversation. Kyle pulls Dorit. They grab a drink at the bar and they go sit and talk. And they're both really calm. And this is the most productive conversation that they've had. Dorit leads it off by saying, like, do you want to repair things? I want to repair things. And like, I still wish that Dorit was able to articulate what we've put together. Like, and I wish Kyle would apologize and take accountability. And she's never been that person. I mean, it's so frustrating. And honestly, I think that Dorit deserves better. Dorit told her a year earlier that they might be separated and they're having trouble and all this stuff. The day that's divorced, Kyle should be calling her and see if she can do anything. She should be not sending messages of support to the ex-husband saying she's a confidant. She basically says in this text, I'm a confidant for you. I won't tell anyone what you tell me. And Kyle's trying to lean into it and be like, yeah, it's production. It's not fucking production. And she's so smart to say that too, because it is a cop-out. It's not. She's opening the door so like, do you want to vent about Dorit? I'm here. I know Dorit. We've vented about her before and I've never told anyone before. So you can vent to me now. And that's what she's doing. And she doesn't own up to it. And I think that's going to leave a scar on their relationship going into like the reunion. If this patches things over for the rest of the season, it's going to rip the scab open at the reunion. So Dorit tries to articulate that. And I just wish that Dorit said something like, imagine I sent this text to Mauricio, offering myself as a confidant, especially as a viewer and someone on the internet that knows about all the tabloids, like saying, oh my God, are Dorit and Mauricio sneaking around? And like after her home was robbed and they had a group hug and she kissed his shoulder, everyone flew off the handle about that. It was just so insane. The fanfic was being written about Dorit and Mauricio being an item. And honestly, that'd be a hot ticket. Like at this point, the way Kyle's treated Dorit, I would love it for the show if Dorit went chasing Mauricio. Toxic as hell, I would love it for the show. I'd be so into that. And be like, guess what, Kyle? You want to have PK? I'll take Mauricio. Imagine. That would win an Emmy. That might be bigger than Scandival. I mean, especially if they snuck around a little bit first before they revealed it, and then someone saw them and sniffed it out. That'd be so great. That'd be so great for the show. So anyway, they're sitting on the beach, and Kyle, I do believe Kyle when she said she thought she could keep both friendships going. I do believe that, and I know earlier I talked about how Kyle, I think, uses PK as like a direct line to Mauricio sometimes. And like she'd rather have Mauricio going out and partying with PK or spending time smoking weed at the house with PK instead of with X. Instead of with the monster she doesn't know. I do think that's why she wants to keep this relationship alive. She does agree ultimately here to, if she's like, Dorit, if you want me to do that, then I will stop talking to PK. And then I love when Dorit's like, and if you were a girl's girl, like if he does tell you something in confidence, I do expect you to tell me. And hell yeah, that's what the gossip, that's what the tea is all about. Like I am all about the girl talk. And I love that there was this great conversation on TikTok last year about how like gossip saves lives and how women have evolved gossiping. And like, sure, I'm sure some man labeled it with a negative connotation, but like, I think that stuff is like really important for women to share with each other. And so I love it. And I agree, Dorit. And that's why I think I'd be friends with Dorit and I'd be friends with Bose and these women because I love, Dorit's been loyal. She's been a loyal friend of Kyle's for a long time. And something I was talking to my friend Bree about, maybe we'll have her on the podcast soon, but something I was talking to my friend Bree about, a bartender friend of mine who loves Bravo, is that Kyle has like a million friends. I think she sits and gabs on the phone all day with all these different friends. And we know last season she lost one of her closest friends before the whole Morgan thing. And it was like really devastating for her to lose that person in her life. And I just think she's got kind of like I do an orbit, like a Saturn's rings, if you will, of friendships. And there's like an A team, a B team, a C team, a D team, an E team. And maybe like the D's and E's are people you invite to your parties, her big white parties at stadiums, whatever. And her C's are like distant relatives or people that used to be really close friends but now have young kids and she hasn't heard from in a while, might see them once a year. And the B's are like the ladies on this show and like, ancillary friends, maybe, and then you have the A's, the people she calls every day, the people she's like exposing to the drama of her life, her daughters. And I think that like she's got so many people revolving in there that she can't keep tabs on if Dorit told her a year ago that things aren't going well with PK and take it seriously. I don't think she gave it two thoughts. I'm like, oh, damn, that sucks. Back to my problems with Mo, back to my maybe girl crush that I'm gonna, capitalize on in the Bravoverse and then say, please don't use her name on the show. Don't get me started on that. Maybe we'll save that for another day. My take on Kyle's like use of all that stuff feels a little advantageous. And I'm not rushing anyone out of the closet here, but it's just like, if you're going to shoot that music video, I'm with Garcelle. If you're going to shoot that music video and queer bait everybody, then you better at least come out as bi, or you better at least like tell us you're exploring something. But don't deny it and tell us not to use her name after like people in your fanverse have probably gone and bought that album, that you were promoting. Anyway. Well, that's the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's where I'm at with the most recent episode. And I'm so excited for next week's episode. They tease this like trip and this yacht from hell, and it looks good. It looks good. So I'm counting it down and we'll review it. We'll talk about it. I just can't wait. Everyone's yelling at Sutton. And It's going to be good. I can't wait. I'm debating if I should just jump right into Traitors because there's so much to talk about, and I've already talked so much about Bravo here today. Why not? Let's jump into Traitors. The most recent episode of Traitors, we've got all the traitors running amok on each other, okay? We've got the finger guns are pointed. Rob's pointed at Danielle and Carolyn. Danielle's pointing her finger guns at Rob and Carolyn. Carolyn's pointing her finger guns at Rob and Danielle. And it's been just insanity. The traitor oath means nothing. And Rob broke that seal. And Rob's a scary guy. I do believe that Rob has a set of rules that he went into this game ready to play. And I think that Rob's set of rules were like, if anyone says my name, they're gone. I'm going to align myself with the biggest idiots on this show that pledge loyalty to me and that listen to everything I say. And if he sticks to those two things, I do think he'll win the game. I did see a little bit of his gameplay on Deal or No Deal Island, and he partnered up with this like scrawny, nerdy young guy from Boston. Oh, we're both from Boston. He basically just listened to everything Rob said. He was a Rob super fan and just wanted anything that Rob said goes. And he didn't bring anything to the table. He didn't win challenges. He was scrawny and shitty, running through the mud for this like case challenge they did. So, I mean, like that's kind of Rob's gameplay. And I do think he's got an ego, but I do think he's smart. And he's like, if anyone's throwing sense my way, which Bob did, Bob the drag queen on top of the hill when they were doing the Easter, I'm calling it the Easter Island challenge because they had these big Easter heads that they had to like bring the bodies and the heads up. He basically called attention to the three new guys. And Bob was being a loose cannon. And that was a shot fired for Rob. He didn't say my name, but he, casted gaze in my direction. And he's super influential. And I do think Rob took inventory of Bob's allies. He said, oh, he's got the Bambi-eyed girls, like all the lesbians, all the queers love him. He's got, the big brother people love him. He's charming as hell. The housewives love him. That's numbers. And so Rob was like, I'm coming into a show like this. I've done 8 other shows. I know the importance of making a splash in TV. That's why they chose him to be a traitor, okay? They choose the traitors, in my opinion, based on who has the experience to create good TV. That's why the producers are picking them. They're not going to pick someone that's going to fly under the radar and do nothing unless they're going to be somebody they intend to pair up with another one of the traitors that's a very big voice. They're not going to go put, who's seeping through right now. Derek was never going to be a traitor. He's too quiet and calculated. He's not going to be taking a big swing. Wes would have been a great person to make a traitor on this season because, like Rob, he's going to be insane. And he's going to, he's not afraid to take the first shot and throw balls to the wall. I would have preferred Wes as a traitor to Rob. I'm not a Rob fan. I'm a big Wes fan, though. So they jump into this turret after Rob eliminates Bob, the drag queen, at this heated round table. And Danielle is petrified. She's petrified because she, out of the 4 of them, thought she had the power working with Bob the drag queen. And I think she undoubtedly trusted Bob the drag queen. Now she feels threatened because Rob could eliminate her next. She doesn't know what Bob the drag queen could have said or done, or if he cast any kind of shadow on her. And so now it feels like a race for them to eliminate each other. But what really confuses me is why she goes for Carolyn first. Why does she not? Is it because they're both Survivor alum and she doesn't trust, like she thinks that like big brothers are going to work together, so survivors must work together? Why doesn't she? And she does go talk to Carolyn about it vaguely, but her actions are louder than her words, and she tells us she's going to shoot for Carolyn first, and she goes and talks to Brittany, and she goes and you know what I mean? And these people, of course, get back to Carolyn, which is why we have them all pointing finger guns at each other. And I don't know if that's like an insecurity of Danielle's to think that like she's more confident going after another woman than going after this man. Or if it's like she really thinks that Rob has his talons into the other faithfuls so deep that she doesn't stand a chance eliminating him. even though Dylan's already on the scent. Like, people are already on his scent. When Wes finishes that one episode and is like in the room and he doesn't even say it, he puts the worm on the damn hook and lures it out. And he's like, how do you know 100% certainty that someone's a traitor? And Tom Sandoval, you guys, and Tom Sandoval's like, if you're a traitor. And it's like, it was so good. It was so good. Side tangent, I hate Ivar. I think he's the worst faithful. I want him out. I can't believe I'm saying this. I love Tom Sandoval. He's such a baboon. I want him to go all the way to the end. I want Tom Sandoval to be standing there at the end with all the traitors and just be confounded, not know what to do about the ending and who to trust. And I think it's going to be so funny to watch him lose on that big a scale. I really want to watch it. I really want him to go to the end. And who do I think is going to shoot for who first? I mean, this group of faithfuls are really stupid. I think they had Rob lined up on a silver platter. Derek made such a great argument to get Rob out, and they still turned on him and voted out Wes. And it was really silly. And I can't believe that Brittany is siding with Rob and not with Derek. I know Derek thinks that Brittany is a traitor. I think at the end of the day, you got to look at your resources in a group like this. And if you have an alumni connection, like a Big Brother alumni connection, you got to use it. You got to keep that relationship alive. Like Carolyn is the only one in this game that can play this strategy of like not really having solid alliances with anybody, because she just comes off like such a scatterbrain, like such an eclectic person that, and it's strategy. I think she's even more crazy in real life, and she's really pulling it back on the show and refining it. But like, it confounds people and people are confused by it. And they're like, she's not a threat. She's barely got her head on her neck. Her eyes are circling around all the time. She's biting her hands. Her lips are moving. It's just craziness. I think Carolyn's going to survive the longest out of the group. I do think that there's going to be an incredible showdown between Rob and Danielle. I don't think Rob's afraid to lose this season of Traitors. I think he's willing to go and make these big, bold, sweeping movements and big battles in the room, because it's going to get him on more shows and it's going to get him cast on whatever future seasons. Maybe they bring him on as a huge threat for season 5 of Traitor. Like, you know what I mean? This guy has built a career like a Johnny Bananas, like a Wes, on the back of creating great reality television. And I don't think he's quitting anytime soon. It's taken him around the world. It's gotten him some great opportunities, and he keeps getting paychecks. If you're working on Traitors this season, you're taking home a paycheck for the entire 2 weeks of production, even if you're Wells and you get eliminated first. They all get the same production paycheck. So it would really suck if you stressed your balls out and you didn't like gain a great fan base and you were on the show for 10 out of the 14 days, because you're going to make the same amount as the guy that was eliminated first. But, you know, there's other benefits to being on these shows, like building your fan base and like, you know, getting your story out to audiences if you have a positive message or whatever. So there's benefit, you know, whatever. Also, it's stressful. And if you're a traitor, the days are long. The production days are long. You're waking up in the morning for those breakfasts. You're doing your challenges. You're doing your discussions. And then you're doing your roundtable fights. And then if you're a traitor, you have to go to the turret and have that whole deliberation and record all that stuff too. That's a really long day. And I'm impressed that Alan, the host of the show, is there for all of it. That's a lot of work. So flowers to him. I really want Sierra, speaking of Summer House, Sierra to find her voice and just like go for it. I could see she did not like that Wes threatened all of them at the round table. When Wes was like, If you vote for me, I'm coming for you. That sounded like a traitor. But Wes makes great TV, and he's going to make a big generalizing statement, and he's flipped people off on the challenge before when he was eliminated. And like all that stuff makes us want to see him again, makes us want to believe in a rivalry with him and X, you know, to bring them both back for another season of the challenge. That's how the challenge is. So if you haven't watched the challenge, the rivalries are a big deal. They've had whole seasons that are based on rivals, and they'll bring their arch nemesis back or their ex back, and it'll be all about like either them pairing up or combating each other and eliminating each other. And Wes has been one of these guys that's done that really well from the get-go, and that's why he has such a long career, one of the longest, you know, besides the Johnny Bananas from last season on Traitors, that can keep it all going. So I love it. So I'm rooting for Tom Sandoval. I can't believe it. Don't tell any of the girls. Don't tell Ariana. Don't tell any of my Vanderpump girlies. Don't tell Katie. Don't tell. I'm going to something about her. I'll buy some sandwiches. I already did. They're awesome. If you're in LA, go try it. I took my parents there at Christmas, and we had a great time. They're huge. The sandwiches are huge. Probably split a sandwich. But I'm rooting for Tom on Traitors because he's a baboon and it's hilarious. And I just love Mr. Bean. I love the Pink Panther. I love any scenario where this is like this clueless guy is dropped into the world and we watch him babble on through it. And I'm very much getting that with Tom Sandoval on this season of Traitors. Well, that's everything. This meeting of Bravoholics Anonymous is adjourned. Until next time, keep your champagne cold and your taglines iconic.